Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Bulgasal Immortal Souls episode 11. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So obviously picking up in the aftermath of last episode, luckily they were able to get Dooyeon to a hospital in time. It is really interesting in many different regards. First and foremost, you have Siho having that really interesting dream about Dooyeon. Makes sense. In a previous life, he was her son, so obviously she's not aware what that is. I wonder, is that a byproduct of her powers, or just maybe a combination of, well, them being both reincarnated and what they meant to each other in their past life, but also on top of that, her abilities allow something like that. But also you have Yote feeling bad about what he did. Even him being like, later on when he finds out, like, oh good, Dooyeon survived and he's recovering and he's okay. He's like, I guess in that moment I hesitated because it turned out none of his vital organs were hit. I mean, because if Yote really wanted to kill him, like, stabbing him isn't the most efficient way. I mean, you literally typically deal with people by eating them, but he chose not to because he figured like this would be the easiest and most humane way to kill someone that's very important to him. So he chose this route because it's a little less Bulgasal of him to like deal with it this way, because he didn't want to eat like Yote and just like make a mess and make him like a meal or something. So there is a part of him that is happy that Dooyeon survived, but the problem is now he ends up waking up and he ends up telling Hwal the truth. Because I was wondering, like, I was like, oh, because Hwal didn't hear Yote's voice. I guess he heard someone's voice, but it wasn't clear enough, you know, because he only heard like one thing, and it was probably a little bit of a distance away, so it probably didn't come out clear, or maybe his voice didn't get picked up at all over the phone. But he already suspected it was Yote. He just needed confirmation that it was. Because I was about to say, like, wow, is Yote going to get luck out and it's going to seem like a random thing? Like, so I was like, is everything going to work out for him? But it's like, no, Dooyeon woke up and told him the truth. So, and obviously for Hwal, like, because he was heartbroken, he was scared, like, you know, that his son was going to die again. It's just like he found him after all these time, and just to finally found him just to lose him again, especially once again never being able to fully apologize for everything, you know, how like everything played out between him and Dooyeon. But you know, and you have obviously even Detective Quan is surprised, but like, oh yeah, like, oh, he says that's his son. It's like, yeah, it was his son in a previous life. It's like, but Bulgasal can have a son. He's like, no, Hwal was human at one point in time until I made him into a Bulgasal. So because once again, she tells him what she knows of things, but even she doesn't know everything. Like, oh, like also you were his stepfather in a previous life, that whole thing. But now seeing that and learning that about things, and you know, learning that about Hwal makes him, because he always had a little bit of a sympathetic side when it came to Hwal. It's just because of his own personal issues with Bulgasal that really made him, like, you know, because he doesn't know which one of them killed his sister, whether it was Hwal or whether it was Yote. And so he ended up distrusting Hwal after finding out, like, oh, you're one of those monsters. But now finding out, like, oh, you were human at one point in time. And the same thing is, like, because that's the thing, like, amongst all of them, the interesting thing is what they end up discussing later on in the episode. We'll talk about it now a little bit at the top. But it's like, right, so Bulgasals are a pair. So he was human at one point in time. Yote was human just like Hwal was. So that begs the question, does that mean that was Hwal her other half? Their pair, like, was she his other half, or did his other half somehow get killed by Hwal did her other half, like the other half of this Bulgasal situation, because they have to be a pair, right? Did Hwal end up killing that person, and is that why Sangon hated him? It's complicated considering the fact is that she still helped him in a previous life. That's also the thing too. Like back when he was a little kid, she helped him, and that doesn't make any sense if you hate him as much as you do. Like, maybe even back then, just like things are changing for Sangon, maybe things changed for her even back then. It's just like, sadly, this like circle of vengeance and hate that they find themselves in has gotten the best of them every time and maybe this is supposed to be the time, the life where things play out differently. Maybe that's an argument. Like I said, we'll kind of get to that more later on, but when Do-yeon did wake up, Hwal wanted to go after Yote, but Sang-un stopped him because it's like, no, Do-yeon's health and making sure he's okay kind of takes priority above getting revenge. Let's put making sure he's okay first and his recovery first. And that in itself leads into what I think is kind of like a very beautiful aspect of the episode, is just them all being together. Like, obviously, bringing Do-yeon home from the hospital because Miss Lee and Si-ho weren't told the truth, because obviously Hwal was like, yeah, don't tell them because I don't want them to worry. And, you know, obviously for them, it's like, oh, it made him realize just like how quiet and empty the house is when not everyone's there. But then the moment they find out, like, wait, he was hurt? And even like Miss Lee be like, is this place cursed or something? Like, does it first like Hwal gets hurt and you're, it's like, does everyone have to get hurt for this, like, all the work out? And I love the moment she found out, it's like, stabbed, he was stabbed. It's like her going all mom mode. I thought was really, really cute. There's obviously Hwal like taking care of Do-yeon, like very like babying him to some extent, because he kept his distance a lot when it came to Achan. So it's like he wants to do things differently. It's like, right, you're hurt, like let me do what I can to help you. Like I gotta, you know, support you in whatever I can in any way that I can. I have to actually be there for you this time. And Do-yeon asked him, like, right, you want to do, give me a whole full fried chicken to myself. It's like, okay, after you recover. It's like, how about a cool, like, sports car or something? He's like, cool, I'll get you that, too, once you get your license. He's like, no, I was kidding. Like, if you want to get me anything, kill, Yote. And it's like, okay, I'll do that. Because for him, it's like, not only did he stab you, but it's also like, right, he put you in this position where he, made you lied to the people you've come to care about, but also he lied to you for years about your, well, I mean, not years, but we don't know how long. He's lied to you for a very long time about your brother. And the thing is, he ended up, like, Si-ho ended up finding him later on, and they ended up talking, because he's like, do I really deserve to sleep comfortably, because I don't even know where my brother is buried? You know, he's like, so part of me is like wondering if I should just die, like no one can, like I have no one, because now that his brother's gone, it's like I have no family, because at least he had Yote beforehand either way, and it's like I don't have him to rely on either. He's lied to me, like I can't go back to him after everything. Also, let's not forget he, you know, stabbed and tried to kill me. But, you know, Si-ho grabs him and holds him, and it's like, no, you're okay. Me, all of us here, we're your family now. And it's beautiful. She doesn't know their connection, but her holding him like that means the world. It's everything. And so ultimately they decide to leave the house, because it's like, right, Yote knows where they are, so they can't go back there. Which even Do-yeon is like, yeah, it's kind of actually sad leaving here, because this place, it's become a home for all of them. It's like, right, like so much good has happened. Like, yeah, there's bad, but there's so much good tied to this. Like the memories of them all being there, even if it was just for a short while. This is where this makeshift family was born, you know? And so, but obviously they go to a place that Hwal had built and had already paid for like years ago, which I love. It's like, why were you staying at that dump if you had this place? I'm curious. I guess he always just needed a backup place, but I think that's so interesting. It's like, why'd you live in that dump, that haunted house of a place, if you had this pretty dope place? And it's like, I thought you missed the place. And Do-yeon's like, yeah, I did. I cared about another place until I found out about this place. This place is amazing. And then him and Si-ho like kind of playing together and stuff like that. And you can see Hwal being so happy about it, you know, everyone happy about it. And it's like, oh, Hwal was like, no, I'll go get like the food and stuff like that, and she wants to go and even before I want to try to remember, I think, yeah, that was like before they ended up leaving, though. He ended up burning that picture of her that he had for so long, because for so long he's hated her for 600 years. He's held on to that hate, and it's like, right, I threatened you, I was even going to kill you, and you weren't even the person who killed my family. She's like, it's okay. And he's kind of like, no, it's not. Like, because that revenge, that hatred, he had a clear target for so long, and now it's like, right, I was kind of like, I was wrong to hate you, so I'm sorry. And she just, I think she's trying not to think too badly of him, because it's also like, right, like after everything you've been through, I'm not going to essentially blame you for everything. So they're definitely in a much better spot, which I thought was kind of dope. But it is kind of sad thing of like, yeah, you've been hating the wrong person. Maybe, you know, with the rest of the episode we'll talk about it then, but it's like, at that time it felt like, oh, you were hating the wrong person for 600 years, so your misplaced anger and need for revenge. But you can tell just like how happy he was, like whenever him and Sung-an went to go get like the groceries and then came back and he found like them all together. Like you can see how it's like his family's together. His stepdad, his wife, their son. She's got a child on the way, and it's just like in that moment, it just felt like his family was together again. Because even with Miss Lee, it's like despite their situation in the past, she has kind of been like a mom to him, and even she likes playing that role. I think because she does care about Hwal like a son, you know. And so in that moment, just that picturesque moment, just like, right, these are the people I care about right in front of me. And Hwal and Sung-an had come to the conclusion, like, right, we're going to lure, because he wanted to go deal with Yote, confront him himself, but Sung-an's like, no, like, I want to get revenge for my mom and my sister, so it isn't just about you, this is about me as well, so we have to work together. But instead of, it's like, how about we stay here a little bit longer? I want to stay with Siho, and you want to stay with Duyeon, so let's do that. And so everyone's together. I love that Duyeon like cracks a joke about him being like, oh, because Detective Kwon wants to like fish. It's like, oh, you gotta do that for your children. I was like, but you don't have any children. He's like, yeah, and that's why I'm doing it for perfect strangers like you. So, but then seeing them all gathered around, eating and laughing, and just like Kwon and Miss Lee acted like a married couple, and it's just kind of like he's mumbling to himself, and she's like, "What did you say?" Because she was like, "Oh, you're burning the food. Move out the way." And it's like, "Oh, you opened up the." He's like, "Why do I gotta do that?" And she's like, "What did you say?" Just like them little back and forth is so cute. And initially, Hwal wasn't there, but he eventually sits down the moment Kwan's like, no, I'm going to offer you, I'm going to let you get some drink. And like, Hwal's like, no, he's too young for that. He's still a kid. He's like, no, I'm not a kid. And then like, he even makes him a rap at one point in time. It's about feeding him. He's like, I can't feed myself. It's like, okay. And I love Miss Lee being like, oh, you mean that? She's like, ah. And he's like, you got your own hands. And she's like, pour me another drink, Kwan. And he's like, you got your own hands. And he just busts out laughing. It's a beautiful moment. Because Hwal did kind of like bring up his stepfather in the conversation, and he's like, "Oh, why are you like talking about your stepfather? Is it just because your kid's in front?" And he stops, and Duyeon's like, "Kid," and then like Miss Lee's like, "Oh, let's kind of move on with the conversation." So Duyeon kind of didn't understand what was going on there, but what I thought was so fascinating was when he told Hwal, like, I don't want you to kill Yute anymore. Like, I know it sucks because of what he did to your family and how much he hurts me, but, like, maybe we can, like, end the, like, circle of hate, this, you know, and I think that is going to be antithesis of everything going forward, is they've all been stuck. All of them are victims of this, like, continuous circle of hate, and at some point in time, it needs to break, and this incarnations of all these people, this right here, this moment now, this time here, might be the moment they're able to break what seems to be a circle of hate that's been dating back to 1,000 years ago. So we'll have to wait and see. But aside from that, there was some really neat conversations between Siho and Sung-an, which I thought was kind of neat, as well as Kwon and Hwal. So let's kind of start off with Kwon and Hwal first. It was this conversation about, obviously, like, his place in all of this, and even kind of asking Kwon, like, I need you to look after them. And he was like, wow, you're talking like you're not going to come back. He's like, no, it's nothing like that. But there was a part of him that kind of felt like he probably wasn't going to be able to come back from this, whatever the end result may be. Because he's like, but tried to justify, be like, I'm Bulgasal, like, there's no way I'm going to die. I'm going to be fine. Like, there's, you know. But he did kind of, because Kwon talked about the fact is he's here because he does care about them. He's almost like, yeah, here I am playing like almost this father role, but like, you know, I don't know if I'd ever be a good father. But Wall was like, no, I know who you are. You're this and that. You're not very good at like showing your feelings, but you do care. The fact is, you took in a boy, and it's like, wait, what? He's like, Duyeon and Siho, you treat them like they're your own children. He's like, right, I guess so. Still can't bring yourself to tell your dad the truth. But it is nice to see that they themselves are kind of on better terms. Like, despite, because I think Kwon now knowing and learning more about Hwal realized, like, oh, you're not the bad guy I thought you out to be. Because I think now probably it's shifting more in his head to like, Yote said he wasn't the one that did it, but he had to be the one, right? He had to be the one that ended up killing my sister all those years ago, but still unclear on some of the aspects of that. But on the other side of things, with the whole Siho and Sangan thing, Siho couldn't sleep, and Sangan's there to, be there with her, because for her it's like, right, we're going to go off against Yote. Even she doesn't know she'll come back from this, because she'd even said this line to Hual, like, if she does die, when I reincarnate again, you find me, and then I can properly give you your soul back. Because both of them just want to protect the people that are very important to them. And but she's trying to spend this last little bit of time for her sister, because she doesn't know if it's all going to work out. But it's like, right, things are good with, like, Hual. Hual's actually a good guy. It's like, yeah, Detective Quan, Du Young, Miss Lee, they're all nice. It's like, well, what about Hual? It's like, I don't know about him. She's like, there's just something off. It's because he is Bulgasal, but it's almost funny enough, considering, like, right, in her past, she had issues with him because of the whole being cursed by Bulgasal, because of what befell her family because of it. But maybe on some level she senses that. I don't know, but it's also like, right, Bulgasal or not, even if he wasn't the one that killed their mom and sister, he's still the same thing as Yote, so she kind of lumps him into the same category. And so it's like, no, you should treat him nice. Like, he is a decent enough person. Like, yeah, he can be cold sometimes and stuff like that, but, like, at the end of the day, he is a good person. She's like, wow, like, do you like him or something like that? And, like, Sangan's like, what? No, what are you talking about? It's like, I don't know the way you're complimenting. It's like, well, yeah, I'm just complimenting because he deserves a compliment, but no, I don't like him. What are you talking about? And she kind of got unfocused by that. So when she actually hangs around Hual later, she's kind of embarrassed, like, when she touches his face. But she, was thinking too much about what her sister had said, because, like, they were having this, like, really nice moment to the point, like, Hual was smiling. She's like, oh my God, you smile. She's like, I never see you smile unless you're mocking someone. Do it again, smile again. And he's like, what? No. Because he had commented on her being, he's like, I don't know whether you're brave, reckless, or just foolish. She's like, foolish? She's like, I had to plan, like, even if you're going to try and kill me, like, after you got rid of Yote, I was going to run away somewhere you couldn't find me. He's like, oh, right. So she's like, see? So does that sound foolish? Like, they had this bonding moment. And I think in that moment, because he had because of everything, he was like, you know what? We'll find a different way. We're not going to work. We'll find a different way to go after Yote, like, instead of this way. Because in that moment, he didn't want her dragged into this anymore. Because he's starting to realize, like, right, I don't want to take you from your sister. Like, all the people I care about, you're important to them as well. And so on my personal level, I want to take care of you and make sure you're okay. But also for the people around us who you're important to as well, for their sake as well, I want to make sure you're okay. So he doesn't want to drag her into this. To the point, like, he leads her into that room. I was like, is he going to lock her in there or something like that? Which he ultimately does. But he was like, oh, go look for that rope over there. I was like, are you going to lock her in there? And it's like, well, I guess maybe some of that might be like reinforced glass or something. Because he probably like paid for it just in case anything went. But you never, why get caught up in the details, right? But still. And it's like, oh, like, did you ever tell Du-Young what you wanted to say? He's like, yeah, but I felt awkward. I'd know, because it wouldn't mean anything to him, plus it'd be a little awkward. She's like, well, try it out on me. He's like, you wondered if I hated you. I don't hate you. I do love you. And in that moment, she's like, oh, I thought it was going to be something bigger. But also hearing that probably made it, like, made her feel a little uncomfortable because of all the stuff Siho said. So it just kind of caught her off guard. But yeah, Hual locks her in there and is just like, right, I'll handle things on my own. She's like, yeah, but what if you fail? And he doesn't say anything, and he just walks away, because if it means protecting all of them, he'll gladly die, because he was planning on dying. That's why he was saying all that to Quan previously. So he draws Yute in, and Yute's like, oh, isn't this the place you're going to lock her in the well? He's like, yes. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? Lock me in there? He's like, yes. So, I could always decapitate you and basically lock you in there and basically make you stare at your body for 10 or hundreds of years. And they go in there together, and obviously Hual was kind of outmatched by him, but in the process, Hual gets close enough to him and stabs the dark hole in his chest and ends up wounding him, because it will knock him out of commission long enough, because it is his weakness. Because I thought I thought what he was going to do is like grab him, like in that moment, grab him, and then like fling both of them down the well so they're trapped there forever. I thought that's what he was going to go for, but no. I mean, that probably could have. It seems like I thought that was going to be the end result, but it's like no. Which is so interesting to see Yote like in that position and condition, or just like his like that wound has such an effect on him. It is essentially his Achilles heel, and he's just in so much pain. He's like, no, don't do this. At the same time, Sangan, after Siho lets her out, she tries to go, but Yote was like, no, Siho stops her and was like, no, like, I want to get revenge too, so please let me help you. Let me look into your past. And so looks into Sangan's previous life, the one from 50 years ago, and it turns out she's the one, or who knows how long she's been concocting this plan, but her previous life is like, right, I need to get them to kill each other. That's how I get rid of both Bulgasals. Even I'm like, wow, like, you want to kill Yute, sure, but I'm like, why do you want to kill Hual? And then we get the conversation with Yute where he was like, she hates you too. Bulgasals, we aren't just straight up immortals because we don't have any souls. It's because we're paired up. As long as the other one is alive, the other will never die. As long as one of us is alive, the other will never die. But if we both like kill each other simultaneously, like through the heart and stuff, like if we die simultaneously, sustaining enough damage, we will both die and there'll be no coming back. Which Hual was hearing that, and it's like, yeah, because like it's like, well, I don't care. At the end of the day, because he kept being like, oh, Yute's like, don't you want to know why I killed your family? He's like, listen, once you hear why I did it, you'll see me differently. But Hual didn't care. It's like, no, you murdered my family. Doesn't matter what your reasonings were. And so he was willing to kill himself. But then he's like, you asked me to make you Bulgasal. That's why I had to kill your family. Because I needed you to put you in a position where you would be near that woman and you would become Bulgasal, because you asked me 1,000 years ago to do it. So I wonder, was that... Once again, there's just so much we don't know. Because my thought previously, as I brought up earlier, was like, well, did Hual hurt someone, the Bulgasal she cared about? Because once again, neither one of them was a Bulgasal back then. At least, now this is where the other side of things of my other brain was, other side of my other thought process I was having is, maybe Hual was that person for her, but somehow she made him human at some point in time, and she hates him because he left her behind or betrayed her. Like, but once again, the root thing that we still have never covered up until now is, why was Hual cursed? It's because at first you're like, oh, maybe it has something to do with him and Yote, but it's like, no, it does go back to him and Sangan. Like, they have some history. She does seem to be the OG Bulgasal, whether she was always a Bulgasal or whether, like everyone else, she became a Bulgasal after getting... Because maybe that's it. Hual might have been a Bulgasal before her, made her into one, and they were together for so long, but then like he betrayed her, ended up becoming human, and she was kind of left in that condition. So how did, like, I guess like eventually she made Yote one after they ran into each other 1,000 years ago, and then somehow he eventually ran into Hual after like whatever incarnation of Hual existed back then. There's so many questions, and it's like, right, so Hual wanted to become a Bulgasal because I guess he figured that would be his way to get revenge against her because she cursed. I don't know. Maybe he, like this, like he was, so the way that was, it makes it sound like he never was a Bulgasal, that he always was a human at some point in time. So he probably was cursed by her as a human, and that continued life after life. But that's the thing of like, if that's the case, why wait till now? Why at 600 years, when that apparently went down 1,000 years ago? I made a promise to you 1,000 years ago. Why did he wait like 400 years before he made Hual a Bulgasal? Like, I'm curious about that. But despite everything, Hual didn't care. It's like, whatever her reasons, even if that's what she wants, who cares? The fact of the matter is, I'm going to end all of this once and for all. All Bulgasals will die in this moment. And, Siho ends up actually stopping Sangan, who wants to go. He's like, no, let them kill each other. Like, right, like, that's what you had planned, and this is the way to get rid of Bulgasal. But for Sangan, it's like, I can't really explain it, but she's like, I don't want him to die. Because despite everything, like, being what they are, like her past lives, hating him so much, it's like, this version of her cares about him. Now, whether that's because at some point, like, once again, it's like, it is this cycle of hate they found themselves in, this cycle of vengeance. That's why I feel like maybe Sangan will be the one to break it, but, you know, maybe there was a version of her in the past. Because, once again, like, despite their hate and stuff like that, when she ran into him as a little kid, she still protected him, so there is some line, this thin line between love and hate, right? So maybe there's something there in that regard for them. Sadly, Hual couldn't finish it, and him and Yute ended up going over the side of that bridge, which I think that whole sequence is kind of like the very beginning. I can't, it's been a while, even more so now, but I want to say that was like the opening of the first episode when it started off present day. Sangan made her way there, and she thought Hual was going, but luckily he walks on the bridge, and she's like, I thought you were going. She's like, I know, despite everything between us, like, but she's like, I basically kind of admits that she can't really explain why, but there's a part of her that doesn't want him to be gone. And so I don't know whether those feelings are really getting conveyed in that moment, but it's still the thing of he learned what he learned from Yote. So it's like, how do you come to terms with that? Like, so it, once again, is this her fault? Yote did kill my family, but it seems like whatever all of this is, it goes back even further than what I think. Once again, it goes back to the original reason of why he was cursed in the first place. So many questions. I'm curious to see where everything takes us going forward into the next episode. Hopefully, what answers we'll get in that regard. What about Yote? Like, I'm sure he's going off licking his wounds. I would assume, like, Siho would still be the only means of getting all the answers, because the whole point was, like, right, there's a whole conversation, like, oh, once you get all your memories back, now that's the thing, like, the entire time it's like, oh, was it Sangan getting her memories back? Now the question is it about Hual getting all his memories back? Like, maybe a past life stuff that is forgotten and buried deep within his DNA, just like Sangan's trying to remember her previous lives. Maybe the same thing applies in Hual's case, and maybe the moment he remembers everything, he becomes the monster, or I don't know. Because we still don't fully know who Miss Lee's prophecy was, well, prophesizing, you know, so we'll ultimately have to wait and see when the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.